Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, your home for gains and brains. And everybody hates PEDs and they say that they'd never do them, but these type of videos always get a ton of views, and the subject is always being talked about. Funny how that works. But I was sent this Reddit post. I know, we have to go on Reddit, but we're about to see the progress that a young lifter made on his first cycle. And it might not exactly turn out how you expected it to. You know, there's an extreme misconception in fitness, and I talk about it sometimes, and I always get pushback from a bunch of guys that don't know better. Guys online think that you can do a cycle or two and make these exuberant gains, and you can go from just a normal-looking guy to qualifying for an IFBB Pro card just from doing a little bit of stuff. You hear these guys online who do have Pro cards, or are very close, and they say things like, oh, I just do a little bit, bro, only TRT. Anybody that admits to it is going to heavily downplay what they take. People that take a ton say that they're natural. The entire topic is a complete mess, and that's why I treat it as a joke. Because frankly, that's how it deserves to be treated. It is just so stupid and so mind-numbing, and the people that know the least are always talking the most. But I suppose that's the case with anything. I have warned you guys before. A lot of you are going to be in for a rude awakening if you hop on the sauce and you have these grandiose expectations. What the reality is going to be might be very, very painful. I do appreciate the transparency. I mean, at least being open about this, even if the results are very subpar, and you know you're going to get made fun of. And in that light, let's see what our friend here was able to do on his first cycle. And we will go through this entire Reddit post. This guy wrote an entire little story for us. I am going to read through this, though. I think this is not only important, but interesting. Because, again, it's very commonly thought that people only do PEDs when, okay, he wants to become an IFBB pro or competing in high-level sports. Some people think those people aren't even taking PEDs. But the reality of the situation is, the average PED user is on the gym floor in a 24-hour fitness, in an LA Fitness, in a Planet Fitness, in the run-of-the-mill commercial gyms. They don't have a great physique. They would be often called DYEL. They have found this route, however they did, and this is the means they're choosing to try to alleviate this problem, or at least better improve the circumstance that they find themselves in. Alright, you filthy animals, I haven't seen a first cycle with pictures in a minute. Since I just ran my first, I thought I might as well share my results. Before I start though, 1, I can't spell worth a shit. 2, I'm prepared for any criticism, whether, wrong form of weather, so yeah, he is correct. It can be good or bad, don't hold back. 3, I have a small dick, don't make fun of it. Okay, so we're going with the self-deprecating humor right off the bat. So, when I was a kid around 12 to 13, I was bullied for being fat, not acting black, not sounding black, and not doing black things like playing basketball. So we've already got a racial component to this. I was a nerd and liked anime. Oh my god, dude. The anime is out of control in the lifting scene. It's just, it has to stop. These comments got to me, so I picked up a baseball and football and was pretty good, stuck with these sports until my senior year of high school. This is where I learned my love for athletics. During my sports career, I was still fat and was constantly made fun of and basically looked down upon. This tanked my self-esteem to unbelievable levels, but I worked through it. I grew a personality, became funny, became better in sports, and started working out just so I could fit in and fit their image. Interesting. Around 11th grade, the C19 hit and I decided to become someone I would be proud of. I hit the gym, had started researching workouts, splits, rep ranges, calories, anything that would help, and thankfully my mother was very supportive and knew a lot about fitness and guided me on the right path. I suppose we'll see about that. When schools opened back up the next year, I started getting compliments and people started noticing me more. Yeah, you see this comment? Dopamine through the roof. That is a very big thing, especially for young people, even older people, but especially people like teenagers, young adults, getting into the lifting scene. Like he just referenced, he had essentially no positive reference points until then in his entire life. So you start working out, people start noticing your physique, seeing that you have muscles now, saying how you're in shape, overtly telling you these things, complimenting you, giving you that positive feedback. That is a huge deal for the average person. You cannot underestimate how big that is, for men and women both. Notice he wrote that in all caps too. I loved every second of it, but didn't feel like I was at my goal. Little did I know I will never obtain it, lol. Yeah, that's how it goes. So I kept going to the gym more and more. I fell in love with being able to change myself and felt like an artist. He said a artist. Carving marble, making a masterpiece. Here we go. That year goes by pretty smooth until prom. Uh-oh. I have a personality and look decent, but I never had a relationship. That's another thing. I have an older video, guys. It's called An Urgent Warning to Young Men in Gym Culture. I won't go into the whole thing here, but I tell you how a lot of young guys who are essentially incels, they go into the gym, and then they just turn into gymcels, the incel to gymcel pipeline, and then they already have mental and emotional problems. Oftentimes, they still have the V card, and then they hop on PEDs, which in a lot of cases are only going to amplify all of those problems and make them worse. So that's something you have to be careful of. I know it's very tempting as a young dude, especially if you get no women, and you're like, well, I just need to get big muscles and the girls are going to like me. I mean, it's probably going to help, to some extent. Even so, you want to have a more rational perspective on these things. Jumping into gear in general at that young age poses a lot of potential problems, but especially heavy gear use, like way more high schoolers than you guys realize are doing right now. A lot of potential problems with that. I asked one of my friends to go to prom with me, and she said yes, but deep in my heart, I felt like I wasn't good enough to get a girl to like me on my own, which pushed me even further into the gym. There we go. Time skip to the first year of college. I'm attending a very popular party school. I went to one myself. And I'm looking bigger than a lot of the other freshmen. There you go, bro. And feel great, but not happy I used this year to attempt to live the college experience. That's a great term to justify all the debt you go into. Oh, but the college experience is just getting drunk and high around a bunch of other people that are drunk and high. And some of them pee themselves and you can record it and put it on Instagram. Great use of your money and time. I hated every second of it. I discovered I'm not a drinker and partier. Neither am I, bro. I tried very hard to make myself like those things. It just never was my scene. It still is not to this day.
To this day!
I didn't like to be shit-faced and not knowing what's happening, so I stopped going out and drinking and just went to the gym normally. Well, that's another aspect too. There is a big crossover between people that go to the gym seriously and the party scene. In fitness, it's very popular for people to cut, not for a show or for a photo shoot, but to go to raves. Do you know how many general gym rats are taking PEDs, multiple PEDs at significant doses, just to go stand outside in the sun and just bop their head to music and try to get laid? A lot of people didn't understand why I didn't like killing myself with alcohol, so I would just lie to them and say I have liver disease. Hey, you might have been on the way to it, and they would feel bad and stop asking me to drink. You know, it's very sad. There's that peer pressure aspect of it too. People get really weird, man, when you just say, I don't drink or I'm not drinking tonight. People that drink, they love other people around them drinking, and you could say that's the case with a lot of drugs as well. But I told this story before. I was out at one time in college, and we were at this bar, and I didn't have a drink. I had to get up the next morning early. I forget exactly why. But I'm standing at this table with a whole other group of people. My friend introduced me, and this guy next to me, he's like, bro, where's your drink? And I tell him, like, oh, I gotta get up early. I'm not drinking tonight. And he started interrogating me like he was in the FBI. He's like, no drink. I'm like, no. He's like, why aren't you drinking? It's like, bro, what are you talking about? Get up. He just kept going on and on about this. Like, that's what he made the entire topic of the conversation. But that's how it goes, man. Most people are so insecure and they have such a bad image of themselves. They need stimulants and alcohol and drugs to fully express themselves and let loose and, what's the word, disassociate from the pain of their normal life. It is what it is. Now it's about 5 years of gymming and I'm browsing YouTube and stumble across Death Star Derek, of course. I get hooked and wait a year to run my first cycle. I mean, you could argue that MPMD has gotten more people on steroids than any dealer ever has. One of the funniest things I've seen online are posts about steroids, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And guys in the comments will say, oh, well, I'm a lifetime natural and always will be. I'll never take anything, but I find this content fascinating. I just love to watch and look at the breakdowns and the chemistry. It's like, yeah, sure, bro. That's like watching a bunch of car content, but then saying that, oh, I don't drive to save the environment. Yeah, okay, buddy. Oh, now he waits to the end to give us the TLDR. I got bullied, became big, stopped getting bullied, and like the gym, I get 0 bitches as well. Give this guy props for the honesty, man. It's much more than most guys would admit. So before we look at his cycle itself, he supplied us with some pictures. He says this is him before he ran anything in his first year of college. He's got some arm development, which is good. A little bit of delt too, some chest. So he did not come from a complete point of nothing, like some guys do, just extremely skinny. We can see his godforsaken anime shirt. So you can see he's got some trap development. I mean, this guy's frame overall is not bad. So he's starting from a point where the fat loss is going to be a problem, most likely. And I would assume that's what he struggles with more than anything. But the pro of the people that tend to gain weight and gain fat easier, they generally will have no problem packing on muscle mass. And on that note, if you want to maximize the amount of muscle mass you can pack on in the gym, check out my training programs down below for novices and intermediates. They've got great reviews, you can see them on my site, and I give you everything you need to know to make more gains in less time than you thought you needed. Not only exercises on a sheet, I break down everything that you need over the long term. So here's his physique at the start of the cycle. And I would say this is relatively standard. Looks like he's got longer arms, he's got a sizable chest gap in the middle, but again, his traps are pretty solid, he's got wide shoulders. We can't see a whole lot of his legs, but his legs are probably lacking. That's the case with the vast majority of guys. That's just always how it's going to be. I'm beating a dead horse, but I have to because you guys just refuse to accept this. This is way more closer to the average starting PED physique than a so-called natural bodybuilder that decides to finally hop on. So I know you see this physique online and guys would just lambaste him. Oh my god, bro, this looks like shit. You can achieve so much naturally in X number of years and do this and do that. A lot of people may know that's possible, but they don't want to wait much longer. Even though, as we'll see, a lot of the times the cycle does not produce the gains that they expected, especially in the amount of time they expected it in. And people get fed up, man. I mean, this guy said that he had been training for a number of years prior to this picture. So here is what he took, his first cycle dosages. Compound, Test E, that is just basic testosterone, 400 milligrams. So this is in line with a typical beginner cycle that you would commonly see on places like Reddit, for example. You often see like 400 to 500 milligrams of something. So that is above the point of TRT, noticeably so. People have really fallen for this only TRT lie that's become so widespread. I see these comments on Instagram. There will be some guy that's just yoked out of his mind, and some guys will be commenting, "You're not natty, bro, we can tell." And there will be a guy replying like, "Yeah, he's clearly on TRT," and it's like, dude, that guy is on so much more than TRT, it's laughable. Like, he's not even in the same stratosphere as actual TRT. An actual medical dose, not fitness industry so-called TRT, which is numerous grams of stuff. Doctor-prescribed TRT is usually going to range from 125 mg to 175, I guess. I mean, you could even say that 200 mg is high for TRT standards, but 200 would be the absolute cap. The point of TRT is to take a man with low testosterone and put him into the normal reference range. Not exceed it, not pack on a bunch of muscle mass. And you guys can even look up actual TRT results from normal guys that post candidly about it. They don't blow up in muscle size, they don't get shredded. Their physiques might change a bit, but it's nothing substantial. It's really about normalizing hormones. That's what TRT is really about. It's not used for serious physique enhancement. But if you do not have knowledge of the fitness industry, you'll be led to believe that guys are just doing a little bit of TRT and getting crazy physique changes from it. AI, which means aromatase inhibitor. Low-key forgot. There you go, bro. I think 0.25 whenever I felt itchy nips. Whenever needed. Okay, so this is typical of a young guy. Something to notice here as well, and this is very, very common, especially in young people that go on gear. We have no reference points. We have no numbers. He did not get his hormones taken, no blood work done, or anything like that. That is something you definitely do not want to avoid if you're going to join the dark side. And if you guys would like to get this done with an at-home collection sample, no need to go to the doctor. You can use code REVIVAL25 at trylgc.com/revival. You can choose from a variety of hormone tests, ranging from basic testosterone all the way up to the male hormone complete panel. Get your reference points, get this down. You don't want to be going into this blind, even though so many guys do, but this code is going to get you 25% off of any test of your choosing. What's your AI, bro? Oh, I don't remember. I think I took it sometimes, right? He's totally clueless. This is great. Nova, I think he means Novadex, 10 milligrams. 2 weeks after his last pin every day. Clomid, 25 milligrams. So these are, I think they're called SERMs, if I'm not mistaken, selective estrogen receptor modulators. They help normalize hormones once you come off a cycle. He also took that 2 weeks after his last pin every other day. He says, so I chose this cycle because it's the baby bitch starter cycle. Except, I was too much of a bitch to run 500. So, you're not scared of 400, but you're scared of 500. 100 milligrams, that's what's gonna stop you? Makes no sense, bro. So I ran 400. Lowest effective dosage and all that shit anyway. Ran this for 16 weeks, felt like Jesus Christ himself. I loved it. It gave me energy, dick gains, muscle gains, and recovery. Felt really good, but my cardio suffered pretty bad. I don't know how he judges that, maybe by his breathing. But I was also fat, so I had pretty bad cardio to begin with. So I guess this is him around the 4-week mark. Like I said earlier, he's got good trap development. His triceps are looking decent here, but I don't know if this is a tangible difference from the beginning picture. And realistically, a compound like Test E is longer acting. I mean, you're not going to really see noticeable results in a time frame of only 4 weeks anyway. I mean, if anything, compared to the starting picture we saw, he looks like he weighs a bit more here. I don't know if he adjusted his diet either. I don't think he specified that. But what a lot of guys will do when they go on a cycle is they'll start dirty bulking. They just eat everything in sight because they're like, I'm gonna get huge, bro. So you've got the water retention from the gear. Oftentimes, high-carb diets, more water retention. High sodium, more water retention. And if they're higher body fat to begin with too, that's how you get that moon face. So yeah, this looks essentially no different. Now this is 8 to 12 weeks into it. Now this is hard to tell because he is not taking these all in the same spot. Sometimes he's got on a shirt, sometimes he doesn't. Flexing the arms, looks like some gains. I mean, you know, again, you can see his lats as well. Now, he's got on this baggy tank top because right here is going to be the problem area. That's what he's covering up. He's got a solid overall frame, like I said earlier. I think it was pretty apparent then. The shoulders are looking pretty good. I wonder how long it would take to achieve this if he was not taking anything. You never know for sure, certain time frames, especially given variance in genetics, as well as diet and training, all this other stuff. We also don't know how he trains, how intensely, what program, all the exercises, all that stuff either. Nothing major up to this point, it doesn't really seem like. I mean, I'd say there's some visual difference, but this is nothing really substantial, at least to me. Now, to the general public, would he look noticeably different? His family and friends, and maybe classmates? You could say that, perhaps. Alright, now the grand finale, him 12 to 16 weeks into it. So it looks like his shoulders definitely have become more predominant. Looks like he's got some bicep gains going on even during a casual flex. His chest looks like it's filled out a bit. I don't know if he's going to mention if his weight changed very much. So it looks like he's built some muscle. Okay, now we finally see a picture of his back, but it's very far away from the mirror, and there's not a ton of contrast. So it's hard to tell. His V-taper is negatively impacted by the waist size. Now he's got numerous more tattoos, it looks like. So I guess he's feeling confident, feeling cocky, he's getting more tatted up. He's definitely made some visual progress in the arms and the delts. But keep in mind, this is him going into the conclusion of a cycle after numerous years of training without anything. So these are not gains that you need PEDs to achieve. Based on everything we've seen so far, I'm going to correctly assume his training was probably pretty lackluster, probably a lot of holes in it. The nutrition aspect, definitely. I mean, he could have lost a lot more fat by this point in his training career if he really had things dialed in. But he did get some results from the cycle. Were they great? No. But I'd say they're noticeable. I mean, especially for the average dude. Arms and shoulders, that's what they want. Oh, this is interesting now. 4 months since PCT. Now, this is good because we have a photo he took at the end of the cycle in the same spot. Let's compare these two. Okay, so in the post-PCT one, he is angling himself more, which makes himself look a bit leaner. There's not a ton of visual difference in these, really. His traps look like they're a bit more noticeable here. Well, that could be part of the shadowing. There's more shadowing in this photo. But overall, I mean, I'd say this is a negligible difference. So I guess if nothing else, he kept the gains that he made. But this is the end result. And yet again, this is a harrowing reality for some of you, but this is what the average PED user is going to get from not only their first, but even subsequent cycles, and a lot of guys on PEDs don't even look this good. A lot of guys on PEDs barely look like they've ever touched weights. Oh, here we go, end results. Personally, I think I did alright. There's Yeah, he really can't spell at all. Definitely things I could have improved on and I will improve on in my next cycle. So he's already going for another one. A lot of guys say you never just do one cycle. A lot of guys have this conception as well. They're like, oh, dude, can I just hop on a cycle and max out my natural gains? Which is very funny. Max out your natural gains on a cycle. That's basically the idea. And build all this muscle mass, then come off cold turkey. You basically want to cheat code your way to reaching so-called peak natty, and then you can just maintain that forever. Have fun with that. Some things to note. One, I had gyno before running a cycle. I'm not sure how much of that is gyno versus just general body fat. His nipples were a bit kind of droopy, but that's common for guys with as much fat as him. I like to lift heavy weight, so I don't like to cut. You don't have to be excessively fat to lift heavy weight. And lose strength, which is why I'm pretty chunky. 3, ran this when I was 19 years old. Very common, guys. Like I said, I mean, dude, I have a lot of respect for this guy and his transparency and his honesty. Yell and scream all you want. I regret nothing. There you go, bro. I don't drink, smoke, run from police. I'm a good person. I need some excitement in my life, and I chose anabolics. There it is right there, man. That is a tale as old as time, right? Not only do you have the fact that you don't like your body, then you find PEDs and they're going to be an accelerated agent of change to that problem. Life is also very boring, and you could argue meaningless and empty. I know some people are going to argue against that. Some people have religion. Some people have religion and steroids. Some people say that those two are incompatible. Whatever it's going to be. But I love this sentence because it's so real. I need some excitement in my life, and I chose anabolics. I mean, at least it's better than drinking and smoking, even though those things are legal and outright promoted, and the other one isn't. But that's for another day. Okay, here's the nitty-gritty. Height, weight, pre-cycle, 5'11", 240 pounds. This is a big boy. Pre-cycle bench, 225. So he's benching less than body weight. Can't squat. Dislocated my shoulder without a U, during football, and my range is not what it used to be. So he probably could squat if he really wanted to, but he has a legit injury excuse at least, but guys look for any reason not to squat. Pre-cycle deadlift, 405. I guess he means conventional deadlift. Now post-cycle height, 6 feet. So I guess he grew an inch. I'm not sure how valid that actually is. Maybe he just measured himself in different shoes. Maybe he grew a little bit, end of puberty. Well, the PEDs definitely ended puberty. Post-cycle weight, 225. Okay, so he dropped 15 pounds. Post-cycle bench, 285. So it looks like he added 60 pounds to that. Post-cycle deadlift, 625. Are we sure that's not a high-handle trap bar deadlift? 625 is crazy. I mean, that's remarkable in its own right, but from 405 to 625? Even on gear, dude, I mean, that's over 200 pounds jump in 16 weeks? Something's fishy here, man. I don't buy that. Edit. I really appreciate all the advice and feedback. Some people are asking some repeating questions. Let me hit those points. 1. Is everyone in the sub huge? I effed around and got pissed off. A mountain of a man. From now on, I will assume you all look like gods. Well, yeah, that's comment sections in general. Everybody in the comment section looks like a bodybuilder. They know everything. They're brilliant. They have all the experience, even though it's Dunning-Kruger in almost every case. Number 2, I didn't worry about diet on cycle, apparently, as I just wanted to see what would happen. Dude, use periods and commas. God. I also did a lot of running and cardio while on cycle. The main reason is a friend called me a bitch because I didn't want to do cardio with him. Well, why would you want to do cardio? I have learned I can't run away from diet, no matter how much I want to. That is true. You can do all the cardio you want. It just is not going to compare. You have to nail the diet to really get lean. There's no way around it. If you guys want to see some key tips that I used to get ripped fast, check out the video in the top corner. 3, I love the community coming together even if it's at my expense. I haven't seen many posts, I guess because of fear of getting shammed. He means shamed, I think. But it's food to know y'all are still kicking. God, this guy is brutal, dude. Just to clear the air, I was gonna do this cycle regardless. Well, of course. I understand what I did was stupid and not smart. That's redundant. But I regret nothing, like you already said. Again, redundant. We all start somewhere, and quite frankly, the sub is on crack.
Who was on on crack!
The people who I know on gear don't look anything like me in the slightest. Notice that there as well. He's a young guy. He knows other dudes on gear. They look worse than he does. I know you guys want to cover your ears and eyes. No, that's not true, bro. This is reality, guys. He says, I'm fat and I know that, LOL. You notice you never really see any guys doing the whole plus-size body positive thing. They're like, yeah, I'm fat. It is what it is. Okay, did some more digging. This comment says, I'll skip roasting you. Everyone else more than eager. What sort of program and diet did you do? He says, I ran a modified bro split. Diet was whatever I wanted, as I was running every day attempting to get my mile down, and he ran a 6-minute 45-second mile. Which, hey, I mean, a 6:45 mile at that size is... Yeah, like that guy says, holy shit, that is very impressive. This guy says if he dropped to 15, that means percent body fat, he'd look insane. But I agree with everything you said. It'll be easy to shed the fat with the extra hungry muscle built under it. He says, yeah, I know, but food tastes good and my family deep fries everything. Yeah, the family environment is a major thing. This guy says, dude, he's 6'5", 225 and still carrying a ton of fat. Yeah, I mean, he looked easily over 30% body fat. If he cut down, he'd just look skinny. I don't think he'd look exactly skinny, but he's probably going to have loose skin, which is not going to be cosmetically pleasing. And yeah, he'd have to lose a lot more fat than he thinks probably to get that lean look. Whether or not he has visible abs too, we'd have to see. The body fat video, as promised, is coming very shortly. We're going to talk about a lot of factors regarding body fat and why you have more than you probably think. It's going to be a hard conversation. This guy says, Mans used gear to look virtually the same and still overweight after the fact. That's what most people do, man. You need to focus on losing fat before ever hopping on gear again. This guy's cool. Thank you for the advice. Okay, so this guy is down to earth. It looks like he can laugh about himself. He doesn't take this too seriously. Here's a great typical comment. This has to be a troll. I can't believe that anybody would post this thinking there would be positive feedback. I don't think he expected any. You started out obese, not fat. Obese. You ended fat. Almost obese. Nearly zero visible muscle. Well, that's just not true. He has visible muscles, pretty clearly. It is unbelievable that you would think steroids were right for you with a physique like this. And then he replies, I didn't expect positive feedback. I expected more of a thrashing, exactly. But I see no one else posting their first cycles. I did this to share information and help others. That is a true component, while getting criticism. Plus, I don't see you posting your physique. Ooh, a majority of the world has a very distorted view of what average genetics are. Your cycle is what happens to the average responder. Anyone that claims they made noticeable physique changes are confusing that with lower body fat and not actual lean muscle mass acquired. It takes years of cycling to get a significant change in your physique, rounded delts, pronounced X-frame, traps up to your rears, and other gear-related traits. There can be certain giveaways. I think the time frame is the biggest thing overall, in terms of pretty obviously seeing it, and then just the overall look that some people get to. It's unquestionable if you're knowledgeable in this space, but there are some people on gear that don't have remarkable traps, or delts. So this idea that everybody on gear gets these huge 3D delts and gigantic traps, that is not the case. I'd say that's more likely than not you're going to see growth in those areas, especially when it comes to women, because typically they're going to have much less pronounced features in those areas in general. What would you call them? The androgen receptor dense areas. But looking at singular body parts is not a guarantee. But that is a very real look into PED use that a lot of you don't realize is happening. So if you guys would like me to make more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below. And be sure to get in direct contact with me. The best way to do so is on Patreon to talk about your own training and eating questions. We will get you on the right track. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Share this with a friend that needs to see it, and there's going to be a lot of them in the general fitness scene at this point. Thank you to the patrons for their continued support. Check out my programs down below, and use my links to save money on some great products and services. And I will catch you guys next time.